So carbs make you fat. Fat clogs your arteries. Now protein gives you heart attacks? What the hell? Let's talk about it. I'm Nate, I'm the FitFutureMD. I upload every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Pick up the free copy of the Nutrition and Workout Guide in the description below if you're interested in getting healthy. I'm the owner of Ensorsale. Ensorsale is family. Together we rise up from humble beginnings to inspire others all over the world with the messages on our t-shirts. Wear your inspiration today and use code FitFutureMD for 20% off, because what you wear matters. Inspire yourself, inspire others to become better, to rise up in this world, to make a difference in this world. So Ensorsale.com, code FitFutureMD for 20% off, because it's not over until we win. So a new study's come out, and basically the conclusion of the study is that protein causes heart attacks, right? That's the conclusion of the study, right? Now, like I said before, you got all this conflicting data, right, of what's working for people and what's not, right? You got, Dr. Atkins from back in the day, you got old Duke studies that, show that you get better on an only carb diet, right? Now you got new studies coming out saying protein is the problem, right? So it's like, you're a regular person, what the hell do you do, right? Well, we know that whatever America's doing every day is not working, right? We're the most obese we've ever been, most unhealthy we've ever been. We're dying of chronic disease, heart attacks, strokes, cancer, long-term things. But specifically this study is specifically talking about the amino acid leucine, right? So, as you may or may not know, a lot of companies that sold protein back in the day, and even now to this day, they increase their protein profile by spiking it with leucine, right? So that when you test for protein, leucine is in there, so it makes it look like there's 25, 30 grams of protein, but it's only the leucine amino acid that's in there. It's called amino spiking, right? And which is great, because that's, one of the ones that is not made naturally by our bodies, right? We have to get it from nature, right? So, that's particularly why, I don't really necessarily promote protein shakes as much. And don't get me wrong, every once in a while I'll have one, but I don't think it should be the staple of your diet, right? It really should only be there when, for some reason, you don't have time, or, it's really protein shakes and protein bars and all that kind of stuff are really a time thing more than they have to be in your diet thing, right? To be healthy. Now, if you're trying to be a 300-pound bodybuilder, you may have to supplement some protein with protein shakes, right? But for health reasons, you're not necessarily drinking a protein shake every day, right? But so this study, they did, cellular experiments in mice and experiments in humans, right? And basically they determined that you get an increase in macrophages when you get leucine, right? When you get high spikes in leucine. And they particularly talked about spikes from animal protein, which has more leucine in it, right? That's why you'll hear people say, beef's got all the nutrition that you need, right? Like a juicy steak and, you're back to feeling great, right? And, but that's why, because you got those essential amino acids in there that you can't get from other places, right? Or as much as easy. They said that, the protein from plants, right, don't necessarily cause this spike because they're not spiked with leucine, right? So, the big question is, what the hell do we do now, right? So, because like I said, you got carbs making you fat, right? So, if you get 300 grams of carbs a day, you are probably going to store some fat, right? Like your body's not going to use 300 grams of carbs. Most people, especially when you are sedentary or sitting around all day, like, and then say you switch to the keto diet where you're mostly eating fat, right? Well, fat clogs your arteries, right? So an hour after eating, if they take your blood, you can literally see the fat in your blood, right? Just there, and we all know that, oil, the reason you put oil in an engine is to, lather up everything. It kind of sticks to everything. So that's what a high fat diet does, right? So don't necessarily want that. But now, with this study coming out, you don't want to live on this high protein, low carb, low fat diet either, right? Because apparently that's going to cause damage with macrophages, right? So it's like, well, what do you do, right? Well, number one, I'm still going to be avoiding fried foods as much as possible, right? And I say the reason is because the fat in the fried foods is a 9 on the calorie scale versus protein and carbs, which is a 4, right? Because, basically if you're going with the calorie in, calorie out game, if you have more calories, you're going to gain weight. You're going to be overweight and therefore, have higher risk for everything, right? And so I even looked at, what is my, what would be a good BMI for my height? I'm 6'2", right? I got to be 190 pounds to be in, a good weight for my height, right? I probably haven't been 190 pounds since middle school, right? So it's really something as far as BMI wise, right? So a goal for me, my goal is 250, right? And, I would be very ecstatic about 250, but I would still be considered obese at 250, right? Even if I was shredded to the bone, obese on the BMI scale, right? So also got to consider stuff like that too, but like I said, we don't want to have a bunch of fried food because it makes it easier to overeat, right? Because let me tell you, I can have 4 or 5 pieces of chicken, no problem, when it's fried, right? You can have, 6 chicken tenders and a whole plate of fries. That's 1,000 calories, but you're still hungry, right? An hour later, you're hungry, right? It's not the filling food, right? It's not lasting, right? Right. So what else? I'm still avoiding pizza. I'm still avoiding wings, and I'm, still avoiding the cheese fries, and other staples of the American diet, right? Because if the American diet is not working, obviously I'm going to avoid that, right? Like we can see overall the American diet is not working. Like we're all overeating, we're all fat, right? So we're just gonna avoid that. And the reason we avoid all that stuff is because all that stuff spikes your sugar. You're way over the calorie range, and you get cravings, right? Because you spike your sugar and then it drops, and then you spike your sugar and it drops, right? Like we don't want to be like that. We want to be where our stuff is level all day, right? And some people like to spike their sugar at night so they can get a good night's sleep. So just because spiking your sugar will put you to sleep, right? But I digress on that. But I'm still going to be eating mostly grilled meat, right? And the reason for this is because I can handle the taste. Number one, because baked chicken, you got to put a bunch of stuff on. You put it in a crock pot, you got to put a bunch of sauce on it, right? Like, you shouldn't have to sauce something to make it taste good, right? You should be able to eat it without sauce, right? So that's kind of the justification there for grilling, number one. And then number two, you're not adding those extra calories that we're talking about, right? So chicken, steak, fish, I would love some pork every once in a while, but mostly chicken, steak, and fish. I'm still going to be eating a lower carb, lower fat diet, right? Because, I want to look a certain way and be healthy, right? So, they're talking about, 22% or more of your calories coming from protein, right? I mean, so if say I switch that to say, if I'm gonna make 70% of my stuff come from vegetables, like you're talking about pounds and pounds and pounds of vegetables, right? Not saying that it can't be done, because I know there was a woman in Florida that was doing it, and she looked great. She was like 80 years old and looked 50, right? So there's definitely, some anecdotal evidence that is healthy. But for me, I'm gonna have a serving of vegetables when I can have them, right? But I'm basically not gonna be living as a normal person, right? Because a normal person is, when I'm living as a normal person, it's not, I would end up being 400 pounds, right? If I start living as a normal person, right? So I have to live this way because I want to live past my 40s. I'm almost 40 now, 37 years old. So, this is the kind of things I'm thinking about. I'm like, how do I get to longevity here? Well, there's only one way to get to longevity, and that's to eat less, right? To restrict calories. That's the only thing that's been proven to make you live longer currently, right? So it's just crazy because, you'll get people in the nursing home that'll stop eating and they'll live years. They'll live 5 or 10 years barely eating, right? And, longer than, if they had kept eating, they probably would have died, right? Like, so just keep that in mind, that that's really the only way to extend your life, right? You basically are putting your body through autophagia, right? So your body's eating, the bad stuff out of your body, right? For food, for energy. It's not being stored there, right? And lastly, I'm going to continue to go to the gym 7 days a week, right? Now, 4 to 5 of those days are actually lifting weights, and 2 to 3 of those days are active recovery days, right? So, I'm not going in there 7 days a week lifting weights. I have done that in the past where I'm literally doing one body part a day and that's it, right? So, I even split back, upper back, lower back, stuff like that. But, you got abs, traps, and forearms, like, calves by itself. You got a lot of stuff you could do. But right now it's 4 to 5 a day, 4 or 5 a week for me, with active recovery days. And this is what I'm going to be doing, right? Like, this is still what I feel is the healthiest for me, right? Like, I'm steady going down now. We've been all the way down, 40 pounds, 50 pounds. And we want to stay strong. So we want to continue to lift heavy and then bodybuild on the back end, right? So you go in, you do your heavy set, your heavy exercise, compound movement, and then you bodybuild on the back of it, right? Because you want to look a certain way, you want to feel a certain way. You want to be able to run, you want to be able to jump, you want to be able to do push-ups, pull-ups. You want to be as healthy as possible, right? And, in the most smallest amount of time, right? For me, that's an hour and a half a day, right? Some people, may only have 45 minutes. You only got 45 minutes, you got to run, right? Whereas I walk, right? You know, due to knee conditions, you know, currently I walk. So that's what I'm doing to be healthy. Let me know what you would do based on this study in the comments below. What you think about this study. Shop at Ensorsale.com. Wear what inspires you, right? Stop seeing negativity everywhere. Bring positivity to your area if you don't have positivity in your area. And use code FitFutureMD for 20% off at Ensorsale.com. Join the mentor program. DM me ready on Instagram if you're interested in the mentor program. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.